After reading a lot of your comments and concerns in the video that I put out earlier last week, it made me just wonder, are you running a business and are you treating it that way? So I want to talk to you about that here on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and I hope everyone had a great weekend, Father's Day weekend. Happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And for me, it was just kind of a chill weekend. Of course, that doesn't mean I took the weekend off. I actually did do some work, got some listings done, and it was a great sales weekend. I had a really good Friday, solid Saturday and Sunday. And I expect it to be even better because I have a pretty big offer that I've accepted. I'm just waiting for the payment to come in, so they haven't paid. So because of the correspondence back and forth, I'm pretty confident it's like over a $500 sale, and I'll tell you about that here in a little bit. But I'm pretty confident that it'll happen based on the number of messages back and forth. And of course, I agreed to their offer, so it's not like I countered or anything like that. But want to know how you guys are doing with sales. We are through the ways through the month of June now. We are right in the middle of summer, I'd say. I mean, it's another week before it's officially summer, but you know, to me, once it hits Memorial Day, it becomes summer. And June has always been a tough month for me, but I got to tell you, this year has been pretty solid so far. So knock on wood. Making the changes that we made earlier in the year, I think, is really paying off. Right now, historically, we'd be just scraping, if I'm being honest with you. Now, back in 2019, 2020, the merchandise was good. But with liquidation, what it was last year, and seeing what I've seen with pallets this year, it would have been rough. And thankfully, we made a lot of the changes that I think we've discussed in the live streams with you guys, and it's really worked well for us. But today in this video, I want to talk about a different topic, and I want to actually do something a little different too. I want to actually talk about some of the topics that you guys have sent me, or at least some of the questions that you've asked in the comments over the last day or two. And it'll all lead me to the topic that I wanted to discuss at the second half of this video, which is are you treating your business as a business? And I'm really concerned by that based on a lot of the same type of comments that I received in the video that I did last week. But let's get on to the other questions first, and we'll cover that last here. In a post that I put out here this last week where I had an issue with an eBay glitch, the Yeti 7853 posted, eBay sales have dropped to next to nothing for me. I barely cover the shop fees from regular 500 poundish a week. I've tried all sorts, even rang the helpline. I was told to up my game with listings. It has never been a problem in the past. eBay has definitely changed something. I now have two choices: try to work through this or close my business. Hopefully you're watching the Yeti 7853. I wouldn't give up. Don't give up yet. Have you done everything within your ability to make this work? You know, so many people get so hung up on committing to what they're selling to make that work. And to be honest with you, I think that's the wrong idea. I was doing that last year, guys. I could easily be out of business right now as we speak if I just basically stuck to my guns and kept trying to sell the same thing. And I guess I'm kind of doing that because my second account, I have that list. I have over 600 some odd listings, and I'm not making more than, if that, $40 to $50 a day in sales, which is horrible as compared to even what I did in 2022. I was making a lot more than that. And the stuff that I was trying to sell in 2022, 2021, which is the same kind of stuff on that secondary account, was doing better back then. For whatever reason, it just isn't doing well in 2023. And so that led me to decide, you know what, I'm going to try to and I say this all the time on the live streams, but this is the truth, guys. I step out of my comfort zone, and that's exactly what I did. Find something you would not ordinarily sell that has a lot of sales on eBay. You go check the sold comps on eBay, and maybe you're at a flea market, maybe you're at yard sales, and you're not usually gravitating towards a specific type of item. Well, maybe you should go check that item out. Maybe you should go and check if that item's going to sell or it has sold previously on eBay within the last 90 days. And there's a lot of items that I think that, because I just don't know about, I am constantly walking by at yard sales. When I do go, I haven't gone in a hot minute, but when I do go to yard sales, I tend to gravitate towards what I know. And it's because it's comfortable. I have, it's one of those things where you don't want to take a chance on something you don't know because you don't know. And you tend to buy the stuff that sold for you in the past, yet maybe not so great, if that makes sense. Because there's been many yard sales I go to, and I've bought because I've bought something like it before, and it doesn't sell right away. And that does get frustrating, which is another reason why I don't do the whole yard sale scene as much now as I was before, because the stuff that I'm buying right now have a really good sell-through rate, and it's hard to spend that same money on stuff that isn't as fast of a seller. So don't give up the Yeti 7853. Try something new. Okay, stop trying to do the same thing over and over again. I mean, maybe you're doing something a little differently within that, trying to sell the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Because I think for a lot of sellers, there might be some denial as, I don't want to try to sell something else. And, if you're kind of stuck there, that's where you're going to have problems. It's the folks that get out of their own way and start to maybe take chances that will eventually find something that's going to do better. And I think in your case, that just try it. I mean, go out and buy some stuff after you've done some homework, and maybe it's a large item you don't want to deal with, but you know what? That's your comfort zone, and it's time to get out of it. So I had another comment from Teresa Kralik, 1820. She's been around on the channel quite a bit for quite some time. So welcome back, Teresa. In the video that I put out last week that was asking you for some help to help me sell the acrylic football, basketball, and my other cases, just wanted to maybe pick your brain as to what you would do if you're in my position with this merchandise. And she says, lower the price. I don't like to store stock that just sits and takes up space. It's an emotional drain. I would lower the price until it starts selling. You used to discount 2% a day until an item sells. Try that. I would lower the price listing to 2%. I would list individually and per case, something for everyone. By the way, the plastic cases will form spiderweb cracks over time. They need to go. Well, Teresa, these cases are over 5 years old. These are new old stock, okay, and they've been sitting for many, many years, and they're acrylic. And they have UV protection. Ball Cube makes really good cases, and they're built to last a long time to display whatever item or football, baseball, basketball that you're displaying. So all of these are in really good shape for being that old. So I'm not really worried about that so much. But I can tell you that I did sort of find the happy spot for the footballs. I have them at $19.99 plus a flat $15 shipping. And then I have the basketball cases at, I believe I have them at like $54.99. I might be off by a little bit because I just recently changed some things. But $54.99 is where I'm at, I believe, after my markdown sale, and that's free shipping. And I've made a number of sales already. And that big sale that I was telling you about a little bit ago, that one is an offer that I took for 9 football cases and 10 basketball cases. That's 19 total cases, and they offered me $530 shipped. They're out in the middle part of the country. And even if I spend $200 to ship this stuff, which I doubt I will, I'll find big enough boxes to make this thing work, and I have a good discount with FedEx. Even if I made $300 on this, that's half of what I put into that pallet, and that's not even touching all these cases that I have. I still have a ton of cases. So I think I found the right formula right now. And once you start getting a lot of sales on a multi-item listing, that tells eBay that it is a listing that has some sell-through, and eBay does work to promote that listing a little bit more than a listing that doesn't have sales. So I'm pretty confident though, but I thank you for your input. Of course, I could still be in this position where I'm just twiddling my thumbs waiting for a sale, but yes, I did lower the price, which is why I'm getting sales now where I was not when I first put these things out. And I tend to gravitate a little bit on the high side first, put your foot in the water and to gauge, the market. And sometimes that works with a high promoted rate, and just sometimes it doesn't. And when that strategy doesn't work, you got to be kind of quick to realize that it isn't, and then you start lowering your price in addition to having high promoted rates, markdown sales, coupons, all that stuff combined. So thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. On a video that I put out about that return, the return where it was a remorse return fail, where the buyer had bought a transfer seat to transfer themselves basically to their tub and back. It has a swivel and a sliding seat. Well, there's a lot of you that kind of sided with what I was saying. Hey, we are running a business, and there is really, unless you make a mistake, you need to stand by your guns and to give a refund of only the portion of the money that is due back to the buyer. And don't feel bad about the circumstances of the buyer, because, just like some of you guys said, we don't know the whole story. This buyer never, entered into any dialogue with me about what was happening with them, only that the chair didn't fit. Now, I have the dimensions in my listing, okay, so it's very clear as to the size of the chair. I also do not give refunds off of the original shipping unless I make a mistake. So I charge the price of the item, which is like $45-50 for this chair, plus it was like $25 for the shipping label. Okay, those are two separate charges that make up the 75 some odd dollars they paid after taxes or whatever it was. Well, they opened a return and they sent it back. They paid full retail $61.20. They didn't even buy the label from eBay. And, I feel bad for them that they didn't take advantage of that. And I feel bad that they lugged this thing to USPS and USPS charged them a full price. But nowhere at all did I do anything wrong as a seller. I sent them exactly what they ordered. Okay, it didn't work out for them. They shipped it back. And many of you guys, when I asked you, what would you do? Because I hadn't processed the refund yet. Feeling bad, do you allow that to direct how you run your business? And I think if you do, it's a mistake, guys. It's a huge, huge mistake. And I know sometimes, we feel bad. You assume, in this case, that this person was an old person. You assume that maybe they don't have it all together, like I kind of did, right? So anytime there's a return and it involves the original shipping plus the item cost, so you have two different things that make up the total cost of the item. eBay gives us sellers the ability to retain that because we've already used that money to ship the item to the buyer. Okay, so that to me is a benefit for having shipping separate from the cost of the item and not offering free shipping, because if I had this same return and I had offered free shipping, I would be on the hook to give them that entire amount back regardless of what I spent for the label. But because those amounts are separate and I can actually show eBay what the actual cost of that shipping label is, had I made a mistake, I understand 100%. I should give them that money back because, of course, they should be made whole. And that happens. Like sometimes we make a mistake. We don't put something in the listing. Maybe we forget to mention that there's a defect in the item or a scratch or a tear. Maybe we didn't realize that there was a defect in the item, a scratch or a tear, or just something went wrong with the sale. Well, as a seller, we should cover that as the cost of doing business. And there's no emotion tied into that. There is no emotion tied into that. That's just simple and plain. That's just how business should be done. But when you do everything you're supposed to do, and that buyer changes their mind for whatever reason, and maybe it could be they just didn't do their homework, which they didn't. It could be that they just didn't know a whole lot about eBay. They had over 100 feedbacks, so it's hard for me to buy that. But then again, maybe this is their first return. They never reached out and gave me a chance to help. So they went at it on their own, and therefore I don't see how, as a seller, anyone should have to refund the original shipping as long as it's separated from the cost of the item. And eBay doesn't even require you to do that because they gray out the box, okay? And once I refunded the buyer the $45 and change they paid for that chair, guess what, guys? eBay closed the return immediately. They didn't put that 10 business day hold on it. If you were to deduct anything off of an item not as described, eBay is going to put a 10-day business hold on that return, not close it, because they're going to give the buyer a chance to step in and dispute that deduction, okay? But not in this case. So even eBay doesn't expect me to give the original shipping back. So, I just want to know why. Why do you feel? Because I had another return that was received right after that. It was a similar chair, and the guy bought it and it didn't fit. The guy was too big for the chair in this case, right? So I had the dimensions in the listing there too, but I guess, they weren't willing to go in and measure themselves before they ordered this chair. And I think sometimes we do that with clothing. Sometimes people are in denial. They may have gained an extra size, but yet they ordered the size they're used to wearing and it just doesn't fit. And that type of situation, they return that jacket, those pants, right? You charge shipping additional to the price of the item. Well, you shouldn't have to give that back. And with this other gentleman who had the situation where they didn't fit in the chair, he got a refund of the amount he paid for the chair, not the shipping portion that he paid separate, okay? He had to buy a return label. He bought it through the eBay system. So the only difference between his situation and this other person's situation with the transfer chair is the fact that one went and paid $61 to the U.S. Postal Service, not to me, and the other one used eBay labels. So, if you feel sorry for the first one but not sorry for the second one, give the refund of the original shipping to the first one but not the second one. Why? Why would you allow your emotions to get in the way because you have done nothing wrong? You are a business, and every dime that you spend on your business should have a purpose and a reason. And a feel bad, or how about the idea that karma comes back to you, or do unto others? Those are great things to live by in your personal life, but when you're running a business, you should keep your emotions separate. That's just my opinion, but it's all about being consistent, guys. I am going to treat customer A with this chair the same as customer B with the same situation. Yes, customer B was a little bit more with the return. Customer A wasn't, but that doesn't give them more entitlement to more money back than customer B. And it's just simply that. There's no emotions tied to it. At the end of the day, I sleep just fine because eBay gives us guidelines to work within. And as long as we're working within the guidelines, because the buyer sets the reason why they return the item, that gives us a guideline to how to handle that refund. And the moment we allow our emotions to kind of creep into that equation, well, it gets kind of dicey. And I know a lot of you, in fact, I would be willing to bet every single person that commented that I should give the original shipping back because it's just the right thing to do. I'm willing to bet you guys are all kind and very good people at heart. And I just think that it's a challenge, but you got to find a way to separate that emotional attachment from the outcome, because business isn't an emotional thing. It isn't an emotional thing. It's just point blank. eBay is going to charge you X amount of dollars every time you make a sale. There is never going to be a time where eBay says, I feel bad for the seller here. We're not going to charge him a final value fee. eBay is always going to handle the situation. If you have a Vero, maybe you were a good seller and maybe they Vero you like they were trying to Vero me. Well, guess what? If you do enough, you're going to get suspended, and it doesn't matter what your seller status is, and eBay isn't going to step in and say, oh, he's a good person, let's let him slide. That's not the way it works, and that's just business, guys. So hopefully that made sense. But you know, I'm a good person. I do have feelings. Like I told you, I felt bad for the buyer, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna operate my business without that emotion attached to it, and it just makes the decision-making process that much easier. So guys, do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Of course, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. And of course, if you want to be notified when we go live, like we do on Mondays and Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, well, hit that notification bell. And once I put out the notification, you'll be the first one to know. Emotions, guys. It's a good idea. You know, and maybe you're doing this for fun. Maybe this is a hobby thing, and maybe not so much for you. If this is sort of a hobby where you're not relying on this income, it's a good idea to leave the emotions at the door and treat everything or every buyer the same, along the same lines. Create in your own mind, when will I waive this fee, or when will I refund that fee, or when will I not? And just stick with that. It's part of being consistent. And I think using eBay's guidelines to do that, whether it's an INAD, we do. If it's a remorse return, we don't. I think that is the decision I've made, and it's a decision that you would have to make for your own business. But yet it's just another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.